In this episode of Akram's Ideas, I'm going to share with you some of my favorite finds, so stay tuned. Hello and welcome. I'm Akram Burris, and you're watching Akram's Ideas, bringing creative and crazy ideas to life. It is that time of month where I share with you some of my fave finds that I've come across within the last month or two. Now, if you've been following my YouTube channel or blog for any long period of time, you know that I usually call this series Vintage Finds. And while the majority of items that I do pick up are vintage, most of them are sewing related in some way, and sometimes I don't even pick up that many vintage items, but I do pick up like some new patterns or some new gadgets that I want to share with you guys. So I wanted to make the title of this series of videos a little bit more broader so I could share a variety of different things with you. So I'm calling it now Fave Finds, and it'll be mostly vintage and sewing items, but with the occasion of other things that I find and would like to share with you guys. So, with that said, let's get started. Now, I haven't done one of these since I guess back in August, so we'll start backtracking with some of the things that I found in September. And I didn't do a lot of vintage shopping or anything in September. However, early September was the Vintage Tulsa Show, and I did a video on this back in February. The Vintage Tulsa Show happens 2 times a year. So there's one in February, which is their springtime show, and then there's one in September, which is their autumn fall show. And I would definitely say that the one in September was not as large as the one in spring, and it was mainly because there wasn't a lot of vendors there. I felt like there were way more vendors at the spring show than there was in the fall show. One of the reasons may be because the event happened during Labor Day weekend and many people are out of town. Also, I feel like there are just so many antique vintage type shows going around throughout the country during the autumn time that I guess vendors have to pick and choose. And like I said, it wasn't as large as the one in spring, but it was still a really, really good show. Now, when I attended the one in spring, I stopped by one booth where there was a handful of vintage patterns, and I went ahead and bought them. And the lady running the booth asked if I was interested in vintage patterns, and I said yes. And she said she'd be back in the fall and she'd bring her whole collection of vintage patterns. So I was very, very excited to attend the show and see what she had brought. And she brought lots of patterns, and I bought the whole lot of them. What I have found, obviously, is that if you bundle or you buy in bulk, you get a large discount. And she had over 100 patterns there. They ranged from anywhere from $1 to like $5. And by bundling the package, I was able to get them pretty much all for $1 each. So I was really, really, really excited with that. And they're just a variety of different patterns. There are all sorts of different ones. There's this one here that is obviously from the 50s. There are some from even the 20s, like this slip pattern, this beautiful little sailor outfit. And then there's even moderner ones that were from like the 80s. Most of them, though, were 40s and 50 patterns, so I was very excited to get that. And I've been kind of weeding through that set of patterns throughout September, which is really all that I got for September. But it was a big haul, so I was very, very excited. If you read my blog recently, you would know that last weekend, I guess it was, I actually went down to Galveston for my 10th wedding anniversary. We had a lovely time out on Galveston Island. Get to soak up some sun, play in the sand on the beach, and even do some body surfing. It was so much fun. But while we were in Galveston, I did take time to hit a few of the local antique shops, and I'm really happy that I did. I actually came across one that had these amazing 20s and 30s McCalls and patterns. I mean, they are just too cool for words. I mean, look at them. They had several of these in a box. Unfortunately, most of them were just like falling apart. So I took the ones that seemed to be still intact. I was really excited. I got, I think, 6 patterns in total. They were about $3 each, $4 each, and then they gave me a discount because I had a set, and it came to very little. It came like $20, $25, and so I was very excited. It wasn't the huge haul that I picked up in September, but the age of these patterns, I think, are what was so interesting about them, and I really was excited to find them. You don't normally find patterns that old, especially ones that seem to have their pieces together. So I'm really excited about finding those, and also actually there's a couple in there that actually have my bust size, which is like unheard of for like 30s patterns. So I'm really excited to maybe start working on that and grading up the waist and fitting it, and maybe doing some 1930s tapes dresses. I don't know. It seems a little overwhelming, but I am so ecstatic that I was able to find those patterns. On our way back home from Galveston, we drove through Dallas and we took a break for lunch because we were kind of on a short time frame. But while we were stopped for lunch, we actually came across the North Dallas Antique Mall, and we decided to peek in to see what they had for just a few moments. And they definitely had a lot of vintage clothes in their store. So if you're on the look for vintage clothing, the North Dallas Antique Mall is a great place to find some. They had several booths that had vintage clothing. Unfortunately, some of them was a good price, but the majority of the clothes are just too small for my size, so it doesn't make sense for me to buy any kind of vintage clothing off the rack like that. However, I did manage to buy this lovely vintage hat. I just love it. It's so, look at it. It's so lovely. It's got this cute little bow in the back, and it's kind of a cream color with black. And I was just very happy to come across this little hat there. The last little item that I wanted to mention that I picked up was here locally. They actually had this lovely little jacket, and I think it's probably like an 80s, 90s jacket. But if you see, it's got these beautiful gold buttons along the front here and these little gold accents. It's very nautical in style, and I just really liked the way it looked, and it fit me, so it was a good deal. So this was pretty much the last item that I happened to pick up while I was out and about antiquing the last month or so. So, with all these patterns that I've picked up over the past year or two, I have got quite a collection. I probably have over 5,000 patterns at the moment, and it is just crazy because some of the patterns I will probably never ever make. Like I said earlier with the ones that I got at the Vintage Tulsa Show, it's just a better bargain if you buy in bulk because they'll give you a greater discount than you would if you had bought in just a handful. So there's that, plus like my fabric stash in a way, I was actually donated tons of patterns. So I have a lot of patterns, and I've been thinking about the best way to maybe sell them so that other people can have access to these great vintage and retro patterns that I have. And I was wanting maybe you guys out there some suggestions of the best way that you think I should go ahead and sell off some of my extra patterns. I actually already have an Etsy shop called Akram's Ideas, which I haven't really done a lot with, and I was considering going ahead and putting some out there if you guys are interested, or if you'd prefer like an Insta sale or something, even maybe like a Facebook album sale or something like that. Whatever you guys think are the best method of getting those patterns out and making them available for you guys to purchase. So give me an idea if you guys are interested what format you would like to purchase patterns in, and I will try to go through my stash and come up with some that I can put online for sale. And like I said, I have way too many and I would like to share them with you guys out there. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Akram's Ideas, and if you have, remember to give it a big thumbs up so I know what kind of videos you guys look forward to seeing. And as always, don't forget to follow Akram's Ideas on social media or subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.